Hello, welcome back to Zentangle Explore, and welcome if this is your first time here. My name is Esther Piszczek. I am a certified Zentangle teacher, and this is a class where we draw one Zentangle pattern really, really slowly and explore it in your own way. So you will need a couple pieces of paper, small pieces of paper that you can hold in the palm of your hand, or if you just have a big sheet, you can draw on that too. That will be fine. This is watercolor paper, but if you just have copy paper, that is also okay. I have a Sharpie, so you'll need something to draw with. I also have a 01 Micron, and if you just have a Bic pen or some sort of pen off your desk, that's also perfect. And today I also brought some gold and silver accents. You do not need these. I've just been talking to people about adding color, and so I decided that I should also play along and add some color. So I will maybe play with those at some point. And I can't wait to draw with you. So to begin, we are going to do a brief meditation. So get nice and comfortable in your seat. You can close your eyes if you like. I'm going to close mine. And we're just going to tune into our breath. Oh, just find your breath. Nice inhale. A little stop at the top. Releasing exhale. A little stop at the bottom. Just allowing your breath to be exactly as it is. There's no need to change it. We're just going to notice. Just going to watch it cycle. Become curious. How deep is your breath, or shallow? How quickly are you breathing, or slowly? Maybe somewhere in the middle. And perhaps just check in with your body. Find your feet wherever they are, perhaps resting on the floor or the chair. Maybe they're cross-legged, maybe you're lying down. Say hello, feet, base of my body. Welcome to this moment. As you continue to breathe, maybe notice your bottom. Maybe it's resting on a chair, maybe the floor. Again, maybe lying down. Maybe you're standing. Wherever your bottom is, just notice how it feels. Hello, bottom. Welcome to this moment. Just allowing that breath to continue to cycle. Nice inhale. Little stop. Nice exhale. Little stop. Pulling all of your attention from all of the places and all of the world and all of your life activities into this moment, into this space, into this breath, bringing everything to settle right here in this moment. Knowing that you are safe. You are safe to breathe. You are safe to settle. You are safe to relax. You are safe in this moment. And when you're ready, let's take a big inhale together. And a nice sighing exhale. Ah. Allowing that sound to give your insides a little vibration, a little vibratory massage. Nice big inhale. Nice sighing exhale. Oh. Making sound just for the pleasure of making sound. for no real purpose, but just because we can. And one last big inhale together. And a nice releasing exhale. Ah. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes, knowing that whatever we create together will be perfect just as it is. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. I am so glad to be drawing with you today. So I'm going to change my camera and we will draw. All right, so I have a couple of pieces of paper here that I can hold in the palm of my hand. This is watercolor paper, but you can use whatever you have on hand. Again, I have a Sharpie felt tip. I have a 01 Micron, a little bit of a fancier pen, but if you just have a ballpoint pen and a piece of paper, that is totally fine. And then I also have these gold and silver pens, which are absolutely not necessary. And if you just have a highlighter, or if you want to add color or a coloring pencil or a marker or a Sharpie of a different color, that is perfect too. So we're going to start over here. I'm just going to zoom in. Here we go. And I'm going to start with my Sharpie just for fun. And this is a tangle whose name is escaping me at the moment, but it might come to me. I'll put it on the replay. And this is a grid tangle. So we're going to draw in a grid to begin. And then we're going to take it out of the grid and let it fly. But I know that this tangle is created by Cyndi Knapp. So I'm going to start with a little box here. And my little box is going to go on an angle just for fun. So this is going to be one box, as opposed to if we did a grid that we might start with 4 boxes. I want you to see what this tangle does. And we're going to be drawing really slowly. So if you can hold a pen and draw a line really slowly, then you are in the perfect place. So we're going to start with a little orb in the middle. And then in the corners, we're going to add these little orbs. Now it's going to look like this is a very specific tangle, and it is, but we are going to be able to modify it in so many ways and explore it in so many ways. So I'm really excited about that. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a line from the middle circle out to the end here, nice and slowly. And then on either edge up here in the corners, we're going to add another orb. And they can just nestle right in between this line and the edge of your grid. And if they're off that grid, that's totally fine too. So this by itself is a lovely little tango. This is an exploratory class. So if you look at this and say, wow, that's really fun. I might just draw that the entire time, and you totally can. Another way to do this is to draw all 3 of these little orbs here and then add the connector. And another way, the creator, how she did it, is she drew the connector first, stopped, and then drew these 3 orbs. So just because I'm drawing it in one way doesn't mean that there are different ways. There are other ways to explore drawing. So always question, we're looking at the components of the tangle, and then we're also looking at, well, what direction did I draw that in? And did I draw my line towards me? Did I draw my line away from me? And of course, you can always rotate your tile to draw each one of those. So the next thing that happens here is we have this little leaf, comes up to the top. I'm going to rotate my tile, draw this little leaf. top. And do that all the way around. And there it is. There's our little tangle. So this, of course, can be drawn in this grid, and you can continue to draw little boxes and add this pattern, but you could also take this tangle out of its grid, and I'm going to show you how to do that here. So we'll start with a little circle. I'm going to draw this in a different way now. I'm going to start with my little petals first here after I draw my circle, and you can rotate your tile. And so we're just gently paying attention to the components here. So far we have a circle, and then we've got little petals, 4 little petals. And if you decided that you wanted to make your center circle larger, make it smaller, color it in. If you wanted to add more than 4 petals, you can do that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw those little connectors right out of the center. Draw 4 of them. Now I'm drawing mine about the same length, but they don't have to be the same length. You can make them longer, shorter, thicker, wider, double them up. And then I'm going to draw these little orbs on the end. 3 little orbs right here on the end. And then ask yourself, since this is an exploratory class, does it have to be 3 orbs? Maybe it could be 6 or 10 or 2 or 1. Maybe the orbs could be really big. Maybe they could be squares or rectangles or triangles. However you want to explore this pattern is absolutely perfect. And then one of the things that Cyndi Knapp did when she created this tangle was one of her variations was to add a little aura on the inside of this petal. And you can just add it on one leaf, one side, or you could add it on both. Here I'm showing you to add it on one. You could always add some background lines behind this pattern, although I like it just the way it is. We can explore in that way. You could add an aura around the entire thing. So many ways to explore this. Nice and slowly. You can ask yourself about the shape of this petal. That can be changed in a number of ways. And so we're exploring so that we can find new ways to do things. So we can tune into our own inner voice of inspiration. And sometimes we can't even recognize that voice because we're not used to listening to it. It's usually that little quiet little whisper in your mind that says, what if you did this? What might that look like? And the idea is that these explorations are completely yours, so that what you end up with is truly a tile that represents the ideas that came to you during this drawing session. And you're perfectly, absolutely invited to draw along with me. But my hope is that in drawing along with me, you begin to hear that little inner voice that says, well, she's doing that, but I wonder what would happen if I do this. And then you follow that voice and find out what happens. That's when this becomes really, really fun. So you can wiggle your lines, you can add lines, you can double your lines, you can triple your lines. You can do anything you want to do. There's absolutely no limitations to how you can explore this tangle. So there's not a lot of black or darkness in this, which makes an ideal tangle for adding color. Well, you can also play around with adding black. And if I was going to do that, just as an example, I might darken one of the sides of this petal shape. So when a tangle doesn't come with a lot of black, I call it adding creative black, which means that you get to decide. You get to pick how you want to add black or color or something grounding to the tangle. And so what's lovely about starting this way with both a grid box and then taking it free form and making it an organic tangle is that you don't have to just play with one of these. You can play with both. So here I'm adding another box and I can decide how I want to shift and change this tangle. And if you just really love the tangle as it was, how I drew it originally, then you can just draw that. You could draw that for an entire hour and become really, really familiar with drawing that original tangle. And if you are enjoying yourself and you are finding it relaxing and you are finding it fun and enjoyable, then that is absolutely perfect. And that is exactly what this class is all about, is drawing in ways that bring you joy, inspire you, perhaps want you to keep drawing. Now, just because those original petals went out all the way to the end doesn't mean that they have to. Perhaps a spiral wants to enter at the center of your center orb here. There's no wrong way to draw in this class because it is an exploration. So everything we're drawing is bringing us information about what we'd like to draw next. I've been thinking about doubt a lot lately and how it's such an insidious, magnetizing thing. Doubting this, doubting that, doubting our abilities or my ability. It's so slippery. And I think the reason it's so inviting is because it's a never-ending quest. It's always a possibility, but it doesn't have to be. I found in my own experience that whatever my brain decides is the case, it will find evidence to support it. So if I'm feeling doubtful, my brain will come up with all kinds of reasons why doubting is the perfect thing to do. But if I'm feeling grounded and secure and confident, my brain will find all kinds of reasons why that is the perfect thing to do. And so I've begun to realize that doubt is merely a choice that I'm making, although it's not always feeling like a conscious choice. It can become a conscious choice if I tune in when I begin doubting. And say, what's really going on here? Am I just collecting evidence against myself? Is that actually what I'm doing? And if the answer is yes, then I get to choose to collect evidence for myself instead. And say, well, this didn't go as planned, but maybe that's actually a good thing. Maybe it's a helpful thing that this line that I drew went all strange and crazy. Maybe my inner inspiration is trying to bring me into a new experience of drawing. These look like they could be space butterflies. Crazy space butterflies. At least on my page. Hoping that your page is looking somewhat different. So in this class, we look at the elements and we say, well, what are the elements? We have the center circle, we have 4 petals. Well, of course, as I said, it doesn't need to be 4. So we have petals and orbs and connecting lines. And you can take those elements and put them together, just the same elements, and put them together in any kind of new formation that you want to. You can leave elements off. You can add elements. It's really kind of like Lego drawing. Here are my components. What do I want to build? And I always love drawing off the page because it forces me to draw part of the pattern. And drawing part of the pattern is a great way to learn about what the pattern does. So you can start a new drawing whenever you like on a different piece of paper, new combination of drawing. I'm going to continue with this one just for a few minutes. And so if there's anything on your page that's happening that you're experiencing any doubt about, you can choose right now to say, you know what? There's no wrong way to draw things in this class, so there's no reason to doubt what's coming out on the page. And just give yourself permission. Nobody else is seeing your drawings, at least not right now. You may choose to share with somebody else. And I think 9 times out of 10, those things that you were doubting will be affirmed as lovely and delightful if you choose to share with somebody else. Because that person could not have drawn those lines. And maybe they're an artist and maybe they can draw lovely lines, but they cannot draw the lines that you drew because only you could do that. And that is the really fun thing about drawing. Fun thing about not being a computer or a printer or an AI machine. Only you can draw that particular line that you're drawing right now. And if you love drawing this in a grid, you could turn your entire little tile into a grid. And draw window panes and window panes of this pattern. It's really fun when you actually draw this pattern in 4 window panes because all of these little orbs in the corners line up and they look really pretty together. So in my one little corner here, I actually reversed these orbs, which is a super fun thing to do. Put 2 in the center, in the corner, and just 1 in the middle. And I could look at that and say, oh my, I made a mistake on camera. Terrible. Or I could look at it and say, well, that's a kind of a cool idea. I'm going to try that again. I'm really glad that my pen decided to do something that I did not intend. That is amazing. And fun. And presto magic, the doubt goes away. It really is magical. It's like the magic eraser. Getting interested and curious about what we're doing is a magic eraser for doubt. I'm very much enjoying my wild creations here. I really hope you're enjoying yours. If you want to add some, if you're feeling like my tile, I'm feeling like there's not a whole lot of definition, so I'm just going to add a little black, a little creative black in a couple of places. These orbs are always a lovely place to add black around, ground them into the corners. It sounded like I'm stomping on them. I'm not stomping on them. I very much enjoy them. Just adding a little glue, a little black glue to give them a nice, safe, anchored space to be. And by adding creative black, you're also exploring. Because you could draw this tangle many, many times. Suppose you could do an exploratory page. And draw it many, many times. And see how many different ways you could draw this pattern in a grid. You could line up a whole bunch of 4-pane window boxes. And then see which variation you like best, or variations. So we're just slowing down and breathing, watching the ink flow onto the page. And allowing whatever's showing up to be absolutely perfect, even if it's something that you did not intend. And especially if it's something that you did not intend. Somebody that I used to go to conferences and watch him talk, and he would always say, pay attention to what's different. And it's such a good thing to do, because what's the same is what's the same. There's nothing new or exciting there. But what's different, that is when things get interesting. And so if you're drawing something that you did not intend, then you are in fact drawing something different. And that's when you sit up and say, ooh, let's pay attention to that. But if we're afraid of drawing something different, then we never get anything different. We just get more of the same. And that can get pretty boring. At least I think so. Because this is an exploratory class, we absolutely want different things to show up. It's really fun for me to take a tangle that has all of these parts. This is a tangle that, usually we're not drawing this many parts in this class, but that has all these parts, and then to modify them and make them your own and explore them in new ways, finding it rather satisfying. What I really love about drawing is that if I just get interested in the lines forming on the page, then the drawing will actually tell me what it wants to do. But if I'm so busy trying to make the lines on the page do what I want them to do and fulfill my expectations, then it's so much harder for me to hear or honor or pay attention to or follow through on any inspiration that might come through. Expectations are really kind of, well, limiting in that way because we never imagine that something better is or different is a possibility because we're so focused on that one thing. We want things to go one way and no other way is acceptable. And that is not a great setup for inspiration to enter in because it always gets rejected because it doesn't meet the expectation of what is in our mind. There needs to be some sort of an opening, a window, a space that allows something new to come in. And curiosity provides that space. Permission allows that space. Asking what if questions provides that space. Following through on what if questions provides a bigger space. Because then you're actually playing with your inspiration. You're saying, oh, you are my partner. You are my co-collaborator. And if I have an idea, we'll try it. And if you have an idea, we'll try it. And together, we're going to have a lot of fun trying all these new ideas. I have an artist friend of mine, and I met her recently unexpectedly, and we were talking about our words for the year. She was telling me about her words for the year. And then she said, well, my word is whimsy. And so when I feel like I'm getting stuck or having difficulty or feeling challenged, I ask myself, what would whimsy do? And I really love that because I had chosen that word of the year and I've done it years past, but it never occurred to me to kind of personify it and allow it to be a partner. And I feel like that's what it does. We say, what would whimsy do? I think whimsy would probably do the exact opposite of what is happening right now. And I'm not talking about what's on my page, but my page is quite interesting, in my opinion. So my word of the year is actually playful. Playful is not something that I always do very easily. And so challenged myself with this word, which I love that I'm doing that. And so I can ask myself, well, what would playful do? And I know that playful would not be talking to me about perfection and expectations. Playful would absolutely be talking to me about things that are different and new and exciting and maybe a little risky. A little riskiness on the page, like misaligning my squares here in the corners, and deciding to draw my grid that I'm playing with here off center just to see what happens. Play would approve completely of these options. So if you have a word of the year, absolutely fabulous. And if you don't, and you want to choose a word for the year, then ask yourself what you would like to invite more in your life. What is it that you would like to experience more of? Maybe that is your word for the year. A friend of mine last night on email said, well, I had a word for the year and I forgot I had a word for the year, and I absolutely have not been practicing my word for the year. And I found it kind of interesting that she was telling me this because it's February. We're in the second month of the year. It seems a little early to have expected yourself to have mastered your word of the year when we're only in month 2. Perfection is like that. It wants results now, and it wants them to be perfect. And that is absolutely no fun and really not possible. So it is something that cannot even actually happen. So what I love about this drawing practice is that I could continue to draw just this pattern for the next week and find 50 more ways to draw it than I'm drawing it today. I might actually experiment with that because I really love that idea. Just to see how many different variations I can come up with just using these simple components. I can put it on envelopes, send it out in the mail. I can write it on my grocery list. I can put it in my journal. I can put it on a birthday card. My dad's birthday is coming up. I need to send him a card, so I can do that. I can doodle it while I'm on the phone. So many ways to play that don't require me to sit down for an hour and draw. And yet I can still be drawing. I often have students come up to me in the grocery store and say, without even saying hello, they say, oh my gosh, I haven't been drawing. I look at my kit, my drawing supplies, and I just walk by and go, oh, if only I had the time, I would love to sit and draw. And I tell them, there are always opportunities to draw every day. Just simple lines. Pick up a pen, grab a piece of paper, add the lines to the paper. There's always paper, almost always a pen. Just stick in the snow. Put your toe in the sand. So many opportunities to be creative. Only we give ourselves permission to follow that little nudge that says, hey, come play with me. Let's find new fun ways to draw lines. Okay, so I talked about adding color to this, so I'm going to go in my gold over here. Let's see what happens. What I love about these drawings too, is that they're explorations, so I don't need to hold them precious. They are merely ideas of what this tangle can be. They're examples. And so I can always draw them again in a different way, adding a different color, different embellishment, or leaving the embellishment off, changing the embellishment. Allow them to be starting points. Really fun starting points. Inviting you to imagine drawing something new from this starting point. Okay, so here are my explorations. That is what I've come up with today. I challenge all of you to keep drawing this pattern if you like it, or find another one and draw it lots and lots of times, at least once a day. Draw one little pattern once a day. It'll take you about 4 minutes, and see what you come up with. Okay, thank you so much for drawing with me. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I think maybe my camera will come back into focus. I hope you had a great time drawing, and I hope you keep drawing, and I hope you love drawing. And if drawing's not your thing, then I hope you create in whatever way brings you joy this week and forevermore. So you can find my website, this is Misha, at eternalpossibility.com. This is a free class, but you can donate if you'd like at paypal.me/eternalpossibility. And you can find my other videos on YouTube and draw along whenever you like. So happy drawing, everybody.